Alright guys, so today we're going to be comparing the Boss ME-80 to the Valeton GP-200. This should be a pretty interesting video, so stick around. So these are both considered budget multi-effects processors, and they're very exceptional pedal boards, especially for the price, which they both go around for 250 to 350 bucks. Now let's start off with the key differences between them. As you can probably tell, the Boss ME-80 is more of an analog type pedal board, where all the knobs and switches are assigned to specific effects. Whereas the GP200 is more of a digital type pedal board, where all the tone shaping is done on a screen. Now the Boss ME-80 being an analog type pedal board doesn't necessarily create a different type of tone, but it does create a special vibe that may help you to shape your tone differently than you would otherwise with a purely digital pedal board. Now personally, I really like the feel of the analog. It makes it a very type of vintage feel. It feels like you're actually using a real pedal board. But there are downsides to this. I usually use my pedal board in manual mode, and that means that if I touch these knobs, they will change the tone when I turn it back on. Whereas in the Valeton, I can turn these knobs as much as I want and it won't change the tone. So probably the main selling point of the Valeton over the Boss ME-80 is the amount of effects it has. I think there's more than 240 high quality effects, and that's just an insane number. And also the GP200 is just packed with features, including a really nice drum machine, a tuner, a looper, and 256 rigs and the ability to move the effects in whatever order you want. Now, although the Boss ME-80 does not have quite as many effects as the Valeton, there are certain effects on the Boss ME-80 that I love a lot more than the Valeton. For example, it's really good at the pitch shifting and octaves, and I really love the vibrato and other modulation effects on the ME-80. There's also an effect that can make your single coil sound like a humbucker, or your humbucker sound like a single coil, and I find that to be really fun to use. Now let's get to who these pedal boards are for. I think if you're going to be playing mostly worship or ambient, or just genres with lots of wet effects, the Valeton is definitely a better choice. But if you're going to be using less wet effects, I think the Boss ME-80 is a very compelling option. Personally, I really like the way the Boss ME-80 feels in my hands, and the analog switches and pedals just make it a very fun experience to use. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments. If there are other budget pedal boards that you have or recommend, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear them. Alright guys, thanks so much for sticking to the end. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing so I can make more content like this. And also I have a little challenge for you. Let's try to get as many comments as we have views on this video. Do you think you can do it? You better. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day and let your light shine. Bye! There are more than 240 effects, and they're just absolutely